Good evening. Great to be here with you today. In this section, hello. Oh, there we go. In this section, we're going to be discussing conflict of interest, grant stewardship, grant management, financial management plan, document retention, use of ShareFile, and what the reporting requirements are for grants. So let's start with conflict of interest. Conflict of interest exists when a Rotarian benefits financially or personally from a grant, which is, of course, a no-no. It also exists when the benefit is either direct or indirect, in which case it means an associate of the Rotarian benefiting from it. However, having said that, let's say you've got a grant, you're going to purchase some equipment, say a park bench or benches, and you happen to have a Rotarian that provides these park benches, and he happens to be the lowest bidder for these park benches. That is perfectly acceptable, except that I would recommend, strongly recommend, actually you should, get the other bids so that you can justify that the Rotarian bid was in fact the lowest bid. Okay? Grant stewardship. What is grant stewardship? The responsible management and oversight of grant funds, including but not limited to Rotarian supervision, which according to the MOU requires at least one club member be involved. Financial reports review. This ensures that TRF grants adhere to stewardship measures and proper grant management practices. Reporting any conflict of interest, actual or perceived. Reporting irregularities of any sort, timely submission of reports, and of course, storage of documents, document retention. Please, at any point, stop me if I'm going too fast or you need to ask questions about anything. Do the best to try to answer it for you. Grant management ensures that projects have proper financial controls, adhere to technical standards, meet the needs of the beneficiary, and of course, all these are determined from your community assessment before you start the grant. Fulfill their objectives, again, based on their assessment, and again, the safeguard of funds. What is financial management plan? And this is right from your MOU. The club must have a written financial plan that provides for the consistent administration of grant funds that includes a dedicated bank account for the funds, disbursement of funds, use of checks or bank cards to track the funds, receipts for the product you've bought or the funds you have expended, and detailed ledger of the use of these funds, and the grant activities must adhere to and adhere to any local laws. Yes, ma'am. The question was, what is the difference between an invoice and a receipt? The receipt has to state that that amount was paid, as opposed to an invoice that says this is due on this product. Okay, so. Oh no, went too far. There you go, okay. I'm new at this, forgive me. So global grants require a separate bank account. As it's been mentioned before, the opening balance must be zero when you open the bank account. The closing balance, the final bank statement that you sent to the steward chair has to have a zero balance. The account can only be used to receive grant funds and to disperse grant funds. And the account must be low or non-interest bearing. Pop quiz. You have opened up a global grant account and the money from the Rotary Foundation has been deposited. Your club has decided to make a further contribution to the project of $500. Members of the project team had an event that raised a further $2,500. You must deposit the $3,000 into the global grant account. True or false?
No.
Did it do what it was supposed to do? Oh, yeah. Okay. You're right. No. Document retention. As you're collecting data or information or documents on this, I recommend that you keep track of everything, especially if you're dealing with partners overseas. Every email that you write back and forth, keep that. Of course, you need to keep your community assessment. That's part of the grant. Your MOU, both, especially if you have a foreign partner, make sure you have that MOU. All quotes and contracts. Can't specify this enough. You need to have all those. Keep all those. Receipts and invoices. Even if, go overboard. If we don't need them at the end, we'll get rid of them. But keep everything, every receipt. Of course, all bank statements and any financial documents. And then, of course, don't forget photos, photos, photos. We need those photos. Okay? Yes, sir.
There you go.
Russ mentioned that if with the bank statements, you have to have every bank statement, even though there is no activity on that bank statement. You must provide that. Janet, do you have a question?
No.
Comment. Just to repeat that, all documents, receipts especially, and invoices as well, make sure that they have the date. Day, month, year. Day, month, year on every document.
Receipt, anything.
And receipts, everything. And Janet mentioned that, especially if you're dealing with a third world country, make sure that you take your own book of receipts, because at least you could document it that way. Give a receipt with the month, the day, month, year, and what the receipt is for. Detail, detail, detail. Okay? The question was, if someone gives you a receipt that isn't in that format, day, month, year, can you scratch it out and change it, put it the same way and initial it? I would say yes. And as a stewardship chair, I would probably accept that. So, okay. Any other questions? Okay, great. Document retention. You must provide access on all documents, especially to your club and district. Okay, so whether that's in some sort of share file, some sort of file that the club can look at and view, and of course the district wants access to that as well. The documents have to be retained for a minimum of 5 years, 5-year minimum. Make copies of all pertinent documents. And if there's a doubt, a question, when in doubt, copy, copy, copy. Okay? And then, of course, we provide the use of share file, or the district does. And I think Rick is going to be speaking about that in a while. Okay, global grant reporting, the progress reports. We need reports within 12 months of the first payment. Every 12 months through the life of the grant, and then the final report within 2 months of completion. This is for global grants. So what kind of information is required on these global grants? You will be asked how both partners were involved, detailed, type of activity, whether it was a humanitarian grant or a scholar VTT team, evaluation of project goals and how funds met the goals of the area of focus, how funds were spent, detail, receipts, number of beneficiaries that benefited from the grant. Any questions on that? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you.